Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight on 207. I'm Samantha York.
And I'm Rob Caldwell. Coming up in this half hour, you might have heard America will be celebrating its 250th birthday next month. July's issue of Down East Magazine is taking a look at Maine's role in our nation's history and highlighting old small-town traditions that still have a place in today's world.
And later this half hour, we'll tell you about an ambitious new campaign to dramatically reduce the number of pedestrians and bicyclists who die each year on Maine roads. But first tonight, it is a discouraging reality that many people in Maine and New Hampshire cannot afford 3 decent meals a day. Some can't even afford 1 decent meal.
But there are other people who are an inspiration because they're addressing that problem. And at a nonprofit in Portsmouth, they're doing it in a thoughtful and innovative way. At the warehouse of the nonprofit Gather in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, trucks roll in daily. Loaded with fruits, breads, vegetables, meat, poultry, and more. This is part of a program called Seacoast Waste Not, which was created in 2024 with 2 goals: to save food that would otherwise get thrown out and to use it to make nutritious, fully prepared meals.
Then when we started to think about how that might actually look in practice, there's some hurdles that we had to overcome.
The food goes from the warehouse to the kitchen next door, where Gather employees and volunteers work 5 days a week, making 600 to 800 fully prepared meals a day. There's a misconception that much of the food that's donated is low-grade stuff, the kind you'd rather avoid.
The quality of the food is just what you'd get at a restaurant. It's the same product that they use in commercial settings. It's all incredibly high quality.
The food that's donated comes from restaurants, caterers, and cafeterias, but mostly from suppliers, distributors, and manufacturers. Gather never knows what it's going to get.
We have donors from all over. We have Cheese Louise, who came in just yesterday and then on Friday too. And they're like, we've got 80 grilled cheese sandwiches. We have them right on the cart there. And we're like, all right, sure, we'll use those.
One source of food might surprise you. Maine Coast Fishermen's Association's program called Fishermen Feeding Mainers, which was loading up a truck at the free-range fish and lobster store on the Portland waterfront. This program goes into high gear when the price of fish falls dramatically.
We can step in and we can buy that fish for a price that makes sure the boat is going to make a little bit of money. We then pay processors to cut and freeze that fish, and then we donate it to food insecure communities and schools.
The Fishermen Feeding Mainers program provides a certain stability to some of its partners.
Yeah, 100%, especially in the wintertime when, it's quiet, it's dead, but these fishermen still have to go fish. And it, in turn, gives my guys something to do.
Fishermen Feeding Mainers hands over 250 to 300,000 pounds of fish a year, which is gratefully received by people in need.
I mean, we've had people that have just actually broken down in tears because they have not had access to fresh local haddock in such a long time.
Back in the Gather kitchen, the crew was preparing a recent delivery of fish.
And you've got just a beautiful little roulade of fish
from Maine.
I mean, this food is just gorgeous, especially when we go to put it in these boxes here. It's just, you can't find dinners in the supermarket that look like the food that we serve here.
Right next to the kitchen is another part of the operation, the pantry market, where anyone can come in and get prepared meals free of charge. Part of Gather's philosophy of providing food in a welcoming and dignified manner to people who need it. The goal in 2027 is to provide in the market and in mobile units that go out into the community 250,000 meals.
The need's not going away, and in fact we're seeing more and more of a demand for access to food and in particular access to ready prepared meals.
The numbers are big, but sometimes it's what a single person says that really hits home.
And I'll actually tell you a quick story about a 91-year-old male who comes to our pantry, and he actually told our director that our meals are what's keeping him alive.
How does that make you feel when you hear that?
Blessed to be able to do what I do.
There's a lot going on there with several programs in different roles. Gather, Seacoast Waste Not, the Maine Coast Fishermen's Association, and Fishermen Feeding Mainers. We've got information on all of them in the 207 section of our News Center Maine app and website.
And one other note, right now there's a donor who will match any donations made to Fishermen Feeding Mainers. The match will make any contributions go even farther and help the program prepare more meals. What a wonderful thing.
They're doing a great job.
Coming up next on 207, the July issue of Down East Magazine is celebrating Maine's role in our nation's history and taking a closer look at the traditions that make us who we are. The latest edition of Down East Magazine is out now, and this is a big one. It's celebrating 250 years of Maine in America. Will Grunwald is the editor-in-chief of Down East Magazine, and he is here with a look at what's inside of the magazine for July. Thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good to see you. So it's a timely issue. America's going to be celebrating its 250th birthday in a couple weeks. Your article highlights 25 different ways that Maine has influenced our country, from everything from boats and shipbuilding to organic food and how to tackle pollution. This was your article. Was there a particular topic or person that you discovered that you were really drawn to?
You know, I mean, the big picture appeal of it was we spent a lot of time at the magazine thinking about what makes Maine great to the people who live here or otherwise visit here and just love the state. This was a chance to kind of flip the perspective and think about Maine from an outside point of view almost, and think about its impact on the country beyond its borders. It was a really fun exercise.
Yeah, was there anything that really stuck out to you in particular?
Oh geez, I mean, in general, right? Like the idea that we're a pretty small state, and we've had a pretty outsized impact on a lot of aspects of national culture, history, politics. You name it. Maine's probably played a part. There's stuff to be proud of, like a huge role in abolitionism in the antebellum years. There's stuff that I'm not as fond of, like Maine was a real trailblazer in the Prohibition movement, and that was a mistake.
And you do highlight some key people from Maine as well. One of them was Fly Rod Crosby, who became the first registered Maine guide in our state. So it might seem obvious, but why did you want to include her and her story in there?
Right. So she's someone who's obviously important right within Maine, and I think a pretty well-known historical figure. But her national significance is that she started writing this newspaper column for the paper, and she's from Phillips near Rangeley, little town, had its own newspaper. And her column got picked up and syndicated by big city newspapers in New York, Boston, Chicago. And she became very influential in turning like hunting and fishing from like essentially subsistence pastimes into or true pastimes, leisure pastimes for America that they just really weren't before. And made Maine really central to that culture too.
So key people, and then lobster rolls and beer also made the cut, which is two things that Maine they're known for. But here's the cool thing, or I don't think it's that cool. I'm a little annoyed that we don't know where the lobster roll originated from. I say it's cool because I'm like, I want to grab it for Maine, but we can't really do that.
No, I mean history is usually kind of murky, right? Especially with lobster rolls. But I think what you can say for sure is that Maine has become the national capital of the lobster roll. And you can find like a Maine lobster roll in like Tokyo or Paris. I mean, it's become deeply associated with the state and has had a huge impact on cuisine, not just nationally, but internationally even. So I think we can claim them as our own at this point.
Yeah, it's a Maine tradition. And another tradition that the magazine touches on is one that people get really excited for every year in Bath. It's the Fireman's Muster. I've never actually seen something like this in action, but the pictures look really, really cool. Tell me about this.
Yeah, right. It kind of looks like a giant water gun fight almost. And like if you go, you might well get wet. But yeah, it's this very old tradition in Bath. I think it started in like 1849 or something like that. And essentially, it's these old hand crank fire engines that would have been pulled to the site of a fire by a team of horses, and they require a team of people to crank them and build up enough pressure to shoot water. And what happens now is these antique engines, people bring them to Bath, and they compete to see how far their team can shoot. It's quite a scene. People, families and teams have been doing this for generations at this point, and it's part of their 4th of July festivities, so it's a great scene in general.
Looks like a great time, something they look forward to every year, and something that we've all started looking forward to every summer are food trucks in Maine. You guys have another article that looks at kind of Maine's food truck landscape and just how it's a big, hot thing, and it's even showing that colleges are taking advantage of food trucks these days.
No, that's an interesting quirk in the whole thing, is that UMaine and Orono and Husson both have incorporated food trucks into their dining service program, which seems novel and creative and fun. And more broadly around the state, I mean, this is definitely the season, right? I mean, this is not that food trucks aren't around all year, but this is when they're really all hitting on all cylinders.
And the variety of food that you can check out. Were there any food items that you saw or any trucks in general that you're like, oh, I got to hit that this summer?
I mean, I've eaten my way around Maine's food trucks pretty well at this point. But I am partial to just a really good hot dog. And there's a new truck. Oh man, the name's going to escape me, but they do Icelandic style hot dogs.
Ooh.
They have an unusual set of toppings on them, and they're made with lamb by W.A. Bean up in Bangor, especially for the truck. And that's high on my to hit list this summer.
Hopefully you get a red snappa in there too. You get.
Those are never a wrong choice either.
Love it. Well, Will G, always good to see you. Thanks for being here. Will Grunwald is the editor-in-chief of Down East Magazine. You can read all about these topics and more in the July issue. Stay with us. 207 is back right after this.
A new statewide nonprofit has set an ambitious goal for making Main streets safer, and it hopes to accomplish that goal in just the next few years. The name of the group is Vision Zero Maine. Its executive director is Paul Drynan, and he's with us here on 207. Thanks for coming in. It's good to have you here.
Hey, Rob. Thanks for having us.
As I said, an ambitious goal. What is it you hope to achieve?
We really want to get the numbers of injuries and fatalities in the state of Maine, which are up, and they're up all over the country, down to zero by 2030, or actually 50. Eventually, we want to get them down to zero, but the goal here is 50% by 2030. And we do that by getting communities to adopt Vision Zero and then change their infrastructure.
And specifically, these are injuries to people who are walking on streets or riding bikes on streets. That's what you're looking at specifically?
We call it walking, biking, and rolling. So rolling includes bicycles, e-bikes, all those e-mobility devices we're seeing now, scooters, one-wheels, e-bikes, huge emerging transportation technology that's really here to stay.
What kind of numbers are we looking at now? How many people in a typical year die in Maine on the streets while they are walking, biking, or rollerblading, whatever?
Yeah, about 20. And in the last couple of days, we've had another fatality here in Maine. We don't have the information on that crash yet. We call them crashes, not accidents, because they're preventable. And so we don't have the data on that yet, but there was a rollator, an assisted walking device shown in the coverage. So we're assuming that pedestrian was moving quite slowly. So we assume that the speed of the vehicle was a contributing factor.
So what you want to do is make it for people, make it easier and safer for people to be out on the streets in Maine. How specifically will you do that?
There are any number of strategies. Some of it involves a stripe of paint or a conflicting paint color. We've all seen a green bike lane, or what they call bump outs at intersections, which prevent cars from taking a corner too quickly, especially at a crosswalk. Some communities paint their crosswalks instead of that classic black and white zebra stripe that we see everywhere. They add colors. Sometimes for Pride Month, we see rainbow crosswalks. Even something that simple can really help that driver cue into their surroundings, and that creates a safer environment for everybody.
Your nonprofit is leading this charge, but it's got to get a lot of other players to buy in. Who else do you need to work with you on this to make it happen?
Great question. So we call those people community champions, and it could be a citizen. It could be someone on staff, typically the planner or the engineer in that municipality, or ideally it's an elected official. We need one of those three in any given community to really champion the cause. And if we get two, we've got a solid chance of getting the work done.
I'm guessing that what you're probably trying to do is take good ideas that have worked in other places, other communities, other states, whatever, and try to bring them to Maine and make them work better here. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. These strategies have been working all across Europe since the 90s. They've come to America. Vision Zero started in America in the 2000s. We've seen great success. Hoboken, New Jersey, 9 years now without a fatality. There's a community in Spain, Pontevedra, is now just hit the 15-year mark as a Vision Zero community with no fatalities. So these are proven strategies. We just need people to understand why it's important, and there are many reasons why it's important.
That's pretty remarkable. Hoboken, New Jersey is a really dense urban area. You got a lot of cars, you got a lot of pedestrians. To eliminate those kinds of fatalities is quite an achievement.
It is, and I was just reading, there's a lot of ties between this work and land use. I didn't realize New Jersey is the most densely populated area in the United States. It's on par with some of Europe's most densely populated areas. And so if we can do this in Hoboken, we can certainly do it in less densely populated areas.
Real quickly, if people are interested in this and want to find out more, want to participate, what can they do?
They can reach out to us at visionzeromaine.org. We're happy to talk to anybody, whether you want to volunteer, whether you want to donate, or if you just want to see safer streets in your community. We'd love to hear from people.
All right. Paul Drinan, Executive Director of that organization, thanks so much for being with us. Again, the website and link you'll find on the 207 section of our News Center Maine app or website. It's Vision Zero Maine. Stick around. We're going to be back with more of 207 right after this. Coming up tomorrow on 207, Maine auto racing fans, especially those in the Bangor area, are already having a good summer.
That's because of the new look at Speedway 95 in Herman. The old racetrack is getting new life and energy thanks to veteran race car driver Ricky Craven. He reached the highest levels of racing and now is back in Maine owning and running his own track.
My life has been 200 miles per hour. Dawn, I've been traveling at 200 miles an hour my entire life, including right now. I'm 60. I feel 30.
He was also happy to give our Don Kerrigan a thrill ride around the track. I cannot wait to see this. Tomorrow on 207, Don talks with Ricky Craven about the tough world of big-time racing and about restoring the track where he raced as a teenager. That looks like a lot of fun.
It looks like a lot of fun, but I don't get a great feeling of confidence with that herky-jerky steering.
Hold on tight. Hold on tight. That's all I have to say. Thanks so much for joining us tonight on 207.
Have a good evening. I hope to see you right back here tomorrow at 7.